If you were to take any two people in the world and compare their DNA, 99.9% of it would be exactly the same. That means everything that makes you different from everyone else in the world is concentrated into 0.1% of your DNA. This 0.1% is such a minuscule amount, but it makes an incredible amount of difference. This 0.1% makes us who we are. Without it, we would all be the same. Just think for a second. Imagine what kind of world that would be. Can you? Everyone being exactly the same? If we all shared the same DNA, we would all look the same. You wouldn't be able to tell family from strangers or friends from murderers. If we all shared the same DNA, we might all like the same things. Wouldn't you get tired of the same song being played on the radio over and over again, or seeing just one painting hung up in a gallery? Or even if we didn't all like the same things, there would definitely be much less variety. But not only would the world be narrow and repetitive, it would also be confusing and disorientating. It would be like living in a hall of mirrors. You would lose your identity in amongst yourself. You would get lost in a crowd of yous. See what I mean by confusing? So let's just be thankful that we are all different. But being different is easy because we're born that way. But staying different is where it gets complicated. There's something you always hear in the context of friends and the social world, and that's the phrase fit in. It was very difficult to write this talk without constantly using the words fit in. I tried to avoid it because I think that's one of the very core problems behind the struggle for individuality. The very phrase fit in means there are two distinct groups. You are either in or out. That's the literal meaning of the phrase used everywhere all the time. And the judgments of other people are what determine where you stand. So our social lives depend on impressing other people. If you want to be on the inside, you've got to be inside material, up to the inside standards. But have you ever stopped to think what that actually means? Or who decides what that means? Who makes those expectations and standards? Other people. And that's why staying different is so hard, because we are constantly under this pressure to please other people. That doesn't seem right to me at all. I didn't get invited. You can relate to that, right? I'm gonna be honest. Not getting invited is really difficult. And it's 10 times worse when all your friends get invited, but you don't, because then you know there's something about you. The person who sent out those invites specifically chose not to put my name on that list for a reason. And it bothered me. It really, really bothered me because I wanted to know, what's this reason people have that makes them think I shouldn't be with them? What happened really gave me an inside look at how we let people decide what happens with our lives. That person was able to do something so small that they didn't give a second thought to. But that little thing had me wondering about it all day. That tiny thing got me thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. It got me thinking enough to write this talk. We let people control us. We let people push us around. We have let our society evolve into something where it's a social norm to allow people to decide what happens to us. Another question that popped into my head was, well, why do people have this need to control others? And I think I have an answer. Everyone has different values because it's human nature to think highly of different qualities in people. But when value differences collide in the social world, how can they possibly survive? The answer is they can't. People realized that in order for our social groups to function the way they do now, there needed to be one set of values to create the acceptable mold. But if the social world would give people breathing space to be different, the molds wouldn't exist. Because you can't create a mold out of something that's forever moving. You cannot pin difference down because, well, it's different. It's unpredictable. That's why you can't make a mold out of it. And if the molds didn't exist, that would solve the problem of exclusion, of being on the outside. It would allow people to have friends that they can fully appreciate because you could have your own values and it wouldn't be problematic. And it would completely eliminate the pressure of needing to fit in. After all, how can you fit in if there is no in? We are all born different, which means we're made different, which means we are meant to be different. So you don't have to work or practice being different, because you already are. It's staying different that's the part you have to work at. But it is so much easier said than done. Staying different is hard, but what most people don't know is that if you give up and choose to be the same, you're not only affecting yourself. People see changing as being an effective solution to social struggles. So they do it too. But if everyone does it, then everyone ends up being the same. And if that happens, the world will stop making progress. Think about it this way. Would you expect one person to create all the new discoveries and invent all the new technology that's shaping our future, solving problems like global warming and overpopulation? Of course not. One person is nowhere near capable of discovering and inventing a future's worth of solutions. But if everyone was the same, that would be the extent of the world's resources. One opinion, one perspective, one angle towards a problem, limited skill sets. How would any progress be made? And even if by some miracle progress was made, there would be no way that it would be able to keep up with the rate at which our planet's problems are accelerating. There's evidence for this. Imagine if Vincent van Gogh, Frida Kahlo, Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, or Malala Yousafzai didn't exist. These are just a few examples of people whose names you know because they chose to be different. And their decision changed and is changing our world for the better. You, as an individual, have the chance to make a difference to this world every day. All you have to do is be different. Own who you are. Be strong. We're all born different. And the fact that it only takes such a tiny amount of DNA to define your difference shows you just how powerful it is. But because it's also tremendously small, it's so easy to lose or leave behind. Value it. Do not let go of your 0.1%, no matter what people say or do, because it's the ones who choose to refuse the way our social systems work that are creating a future for us. Without difference, our world will become a bland and boring place. So hold on to your 0.1% because that is who you are.